Welcome to our webinar number 4 with Lumaprints here. We are talking about our fine art paper prints. My name is Sarah. I was part of webinar 2 and I'm the marketing manager here at Lumaprints. I'm joined today with my colleague, Lindsay.
Hi, I work in the marketing department under Sarah. You probably saw me from last week. Welcome back. We're happy to see you guys. And if you're new here, welcome.
And yeah, so we'll go ahead and get started. Every now and then I'll be admitting people into the from the waiting room into our webinar. But yeah, let's go ahead and get started here. As you guys see, we are going to talk about our fine art paper prints today. The key word there is fine art paper. These are not just your regular printer paper at home. We're just making sure that the artwork you guys are presenting are, of course, worthy of purchase or worthy to display. For shows, for galleries. We just had a couple people come to pick up for the OC Fair, our local fair here in Orange County. I'm very proud of them. If you guys are in this or watching this, kudos and congratulations on getting your prints on the show. But like I said, our prints, we just want to make sure that we provide the best quality prints for you guys that your end customer will be very appreciative of, just because our quality is worth it. And we do want to make sure it is affordable for you guys. So if you guys don't already know, our prints are actually pretty price competitive, especially for our hot press and our cold press matte papers. Our archival matte paper and our semi-glossy paper are also aggressively priced. And the reason we're able to do this is because of the economies of scale. We pass on the savings from that to you guys as well. With fine art papers, they often pack light. It's also very versatile and provides variety to you as customers. What that means is they work for most designs and vice versa. If you want a specific design on a specific piece of paper, we have those variety of options for you guys. We also want to be able to share. I think a few of you already know about this, but we do have offered our fine art paper prints under frame. So I'm going to go ahead and grab that here. This is one of our newer products. It's our framed fine art paper print product. This will be releasing soon on our new website as well. Some of you may have gotten samples, some of you have tried it out. So we're looking very much forward to you guys checking this product out soon. But today we'll be focusing mostly on our fine art paper prints. We will talk about the framed fine art papers on a later webinar. So today we'll talk about our 4 fine art paper print specifications, the advantages to using each one of them, how each of them works in terms of the different illustrations or photography that you may have. And of course, we'll end with any Q&A if you guys have any questions, and also pre-submitted questions that were given to us. So I'll just go ahead and get started. We do have a PowerPoint for you guys today. Make sure you guys see that. If you guys have any problem seeing the discussion, just let me know, or seeing the presentation, I mean, just let us know. So yeah, so just to start, we have our archival matte paper print. This is 230 grams per square meter, so there is weight to this paper. Again, all our papers are not like your standard printer paper at home, so there is weight to it. It is a non-reflective, smooth surface, as you can see on the video here, as well as on the pictures on the bottom right. These have smooth surfaces and is a bright white paper. So this archival grade paper is made actually out of cotton pulp. Additionally, it's sometimes referred to as a museum grade or museum quality paper. It's the most stable option out of all of our paper prints, just for long-term storage and preservation as well. This type of paper print is great for digital designs, photography, line art, typography. And its advantages is that it's one of our most economical or price competitive print. Very versatile, as I indicated above. There, it's used for many different design types if you'd like. And there's also no glare to this type of paper print. So if you want to avoid a glare as people are looking at the print, this is one of the paper prints to go with. As I talk about this archival matte, the next paper print I'll talk about is semi-glossy. These two are just like the tried and true paper prints. There's some versatility to them. And it's, again, our most economical options of the 4 paper prints that we currently have on lumaprints.com. But nonetheless, it's still of high quality. So while this is the matte with the smooth finish, no glare, the next one that we do have is the semi-glossy paper print. This one has a little more weight to it than the archival matte. It is 250 grams per square meter. And it comes with a resin coating for that satin-like sheen that you see there. So if you recall on the video, I know it might be a little hard to notice the little differences between, but there is a little sheen on this video here and a slight little glare that you didn't see on the archival matte. So if you look closely also here, there is a little sheen on these pictures here compared to, say, let me go back to the matte, where it's a little more, there we go, a little more flat without the sheen to it. Let me go back to our semi-glossy here. So the semi-gloss paper is actually also commonly referred to as a satin finish paper, also actually known as the luster paper. And it just offers a wide color spectrum. So any high resolution or full color photography is really good with this gloss-like paper or semi-gloss-like paper. The minimal glare and the light reflection of this type of paper makes it simpler to view images printed on it, of course. It's less impacted by the harsh lighting and can be seen clearly from a broader angle. Also, it's more appropriate to use for exhibiting images behind a glass than, say, a regular glossy image. Again, I think I talked about some advantages of the last one, this one as well. For this particular design, it is very good for photography, digital designs, and vibrant designs. What we do say is that it's not ideal for typography. So if you do have typography-like designs, due to the large white patches on these, typography may not really look too great because it comes up pretty bright onto the eyes. So usually, again, it's more so for photography and digital design to have like vibrancy to it, is what we would recommend for the semi-glossy art print. So advantages when it comes to the semi-glossy art print is that it has a muted sheen, it's not too reflective. And additionally, the fingerprints don't show as easily on these types of prints. So those are the two tried and true prints that we have. I will toss it to Lindsay, who will talk about our other 2 matte paper types.
Thank you, Sarah. So just going in on it, the hot press and the cold press, which we'll get into later, these 2 papers are really great in general for fine art reproductions, specifically ones that were made by hand or non-digital designs. Starting with the cold press, what really stands out about the hot press, my bad. What really stands out about the hot press is that it has a really nice black density that is surprising for the material because the material is matte, it doesn't capture the light, it absorbs the pigments really well. And say you have a high contrast image, of course we use the standard dog here in this presentation for the video, but even looking at the horse, you do see the versatility of the dark pigments and how dark they can get, as well as seeing the little nuances of the hues available with the hot press that I think does really well. So for example, the horse, you can see it's kind of like a dark brown black, whereas the coat that's draped over on the side is more of a neutral to bluish black. So it captures those dark pigments really well, and it has just a high color gamut capture. Like the archival, it is 100% cotton rag. I guess the way you would define it, and if you're kind of thinking of which paper to use, it's the in-betweener between archival and then cold press, which we'll get into. But it's very thick, it's very smooth as well for a thicker paper. And what I like about this one and why it's very suitable for traditional paintings is because it's a neutral white. So when you put paints or when you put your overall image on it, the whites of the imagery won't be so stark in comparison to everything else. And I think that's why it makes it for a very strong image. I think it typically does really well for fine art in general, as well as typography. And I think that overall, it's a great option if you're looking for something that's not too textured, but you also wanted to have your painterly styles, be done justice. For the next one we'll get into, which is cold press. This is definitely the one for the artists that want to showcase their watercolors or have their painterly strokes just, be the center focus and just really pop. It's our weightiest paper out of all four, so it's going to be nice and thick. And what also stands out about it, not only its thickness, but also how textured it is. And so when you see it in person, you'll be like, wow, this is like watercolor paper, because it is. It holds the grooves really well. And so, for example, I think it looks best with watercolor designs because of the way it just seems so natural. So if you traditionally, made your art print and you uploaded it and you see that there's some texture already in there, applying it onto the applying it onto the cold press, it's just gonna complement it further. Similar to the hot press, it's also captures the dark colors really well. I will say that the major difference is that it's not going to be as high contrast, but that's just because of how it captures light, which it just doesn't. It's super matte. It's probably the most matte of them all, just of how it was processed and made, because it was made without chemicals, without treatments of any sort. It's very natural. So you're going to have that nice matte, very rough texture to it that, bodes well with a lot of certain styles. Not only watercolor is good for it, but so is typography. If you want your typography to look very, especially calligraphy, it's going to look really fantastic on this. I've seen maps done really well on this. I've seen wedding invitation-esque type of imagery and designs look really fantastic on this. So the sky's the limit with this one. I will just say it's a bit more unique. So just make sure that your design matches the same energy as the cold press. Overall, I would say that when coming to selecting your options, hopefully, these four papers, one of them is your, preferred choice or something calls to you. If you're never sure, you could always just send us a design. And if you're looking for a second opinion, we're more than happy to help you with that. But besides that, I think that's about it for our four main papers. If anyone has any questions, feel free to come into the chat and talk to us about it. But for now, what we can do is talk about something that we kind of have in plan for you guys. So Sarah, do you want to take it away?
Sure. So just waiting to see if there's any questions in the chat. If not, we'll go ahead and go to our next part of our presentation here for you all. And then if you guys have any questions and you'd just like to voice it out, feel free to unmute yourselves and ask the questions as well. We'll be watching the chat in any case, either way. So yeah, like Lindsay said, there's something exciting that we want to share for those who are viewing our presentation today. And what we have here is our new quote unquote secret papers coming soon. These will only be available on the new website. We are looking into, as you can see, adding new papers per the request of some customers. Again, we love listening to you guys. So if you guys have any comments, any feedback, anything that you'd like to see from us, please feel free to share with our team here, and we will definitely look into it. I think that's one thing I pride myself here at Lumaprints. We're very much open to ideas and growing our products to better serve you as customers. So again, these papers are currently in a development phase. We are working on getting it released to you guys soon, again, on the new website. So I will go ahead and talk about some of these, and Lindsay will talk about the latter two as well. So I'll start with Somerset Velvet, semi-matte, and Lindsay will end with metallic and glossy. In fact, I think it might be best if you guys see it in person here with us as we talk about it. So let me go ahead and stop sharing my screen and start our video back up. Hey guys. So just to start, let's talk about the Somerset Velvet. This is our Somerset Velvet paper. We will be sharing the PowerPoint if you'd like to take a closer look at it as well, but it is one of the customers' most interested paper print. We've been hearing a lot of customers requesting this type of print. So again, this is called the Somerset Velvet. It's similar to a cold press, but not as heavily textured. I would say it's in between our hot press and our cold press paper. We just wanted to bring it over to y'all, see how there's like a smooth finish to it. Again, like the term velvet, if you will. I guess if I turn this kind of around, I'm not sure if you guys will be able to see the texture. Does that really look like it maybe? But there is still some thickness, as you can see from this side of the angle. Again, we'll be sharing the PowerPoint where it has a little more pictures on the grooves of the image as well after the presentation. And then one of our other new products coming up is the semi-matte. This is for those who are looking for just that in between of our matte papers as well as our semi-glossy paper. So it does have almost like that photography-like paper, like say the semi-gloss, but it doesn't have that glossiness. Like it still feels a more smooth finish to it. But so that's the semi-matte, a little, not that much glare to it. So again, in between the archival matte and the semi-glossy paper. So yeah, those are two of the new ones that we're thinking of adding on. I guess, Lindsay, would you like to talk about the other two?
Yeah, sure. Let me start with the metallic because, well, that's a personal favorite of mine.
Personal favorite also.
And the reason why I like it a lot, I don't know if the webcam will do it justice, but what I like is that it not only captures the light in a certain angle, but it captures also the hues of your area. So say you have like a warm room, it's going to capture the warmth of that room because of its reflectivity. It's best to describe, yeah, metallic. You can also describe it as pearly. It's just a really interesting paper overall. It will do really well for your modern and more abstract looks, especially if you're going for a futuristic feel. Photography, fantastic. I know some people like this one because it's glossy, but not too glossy. And even when it is and it captures the light, it's going to have something a little bit more dynamic, a little je ne sais quoi. And then, of course, you know, with having a lot of variety, I think it's good to also just have a very solid glossy, which is right here too. The glossy, you've probably seen it before. It's a more common provided paper, and we're providing it here. It's definitely the most light reflective one of them all. And some people are like, well, why glossy if I don't want my images to be too reflective? Well, the advantage of some glossy papers is that they'll be a lot brighter and more vibrant. And so if you ever see something behind glass or see something that has some reflection to it, you'll notice that the colors sometimes are a little bit more poppy and feel like they kind of stand out in a way. So I definitely suggest it for those who are interested in photography and also just pop art-esque paintings. This will do really well, as you can imagine. I mean, just looking at the yellows here, for example, you could see how bright they are and how they just pop. So I think it's a really good option to have. Of course, these 4 papers are still in development and we're still figuring out when to introduce them and how we're going to introduce them. But those are 4 products that we are very excited to bring to you guys. Nevertheless, yeah.
So I hope you guys enjoyed that little sneak peek into our new products. If you guys have any questions about it, feel free to shoot it on the chat or unmute yourselves. We're going to go ahead and go into our pre-submitted questions for the day. And after that, we'll talk about some Q&As and pretty much be at the end of our webinar. So we got about three different questions here. One person submitted a question asking about the longevity of archival matte papers and how they are compared to the other papers. I mean, overall, all of them have great longevity for them. Regarding the archival matte, it is a museum grade quality product. So yes, it will last a long time. One thing we were talking about, me and Lindsay, is that we just don't recommend putting it maybe against like the sunlight, because that can, of course, affect the coloring over time. So that's all we would recommend for, you know, taking care of your archival matte prints. But overall, there is archival matte prints last a long time. Another question that was submitted. Oh,
can you guys hear me? Oh,
yes.
this Ken here.
I
Yeah,
can.
so hey, just adding a little bit more flavor to this. So all of our papers are archival quality. They're all rated to last over 100 years in the proper conditions. Proper conditions meaning, as Sarah said, not in direct sunlight. Obviously, direct sunlight will affect the longevity of it, of any print. But all of our papers are archival quality, museum grade, and again, rated to last over 100 years in sort of normal conditions, right? Like not in direct sunlight.
Yes. Thanks, Ken. So for a second pre-submitted question, somebody asked that they're just purely a photographer. They just wanted to know what's best between the archival and semi-glossy print. So yeah, like I talked about earlier in the presentation, archival and semi-glossy is one of our most versatile like paper types in which like they can work through all the different types of designs, minus the semi-glossy for typography, but in terms of photography, it could work for both the archival matte as well as the semi-glossy in our as our recommendation. The archival would be good for it if you would like a more poster-like display for your image, but the semi-glossy is especially good for photography because it brings out the more vividness part of your image. So that's that, and
Oh.
then yes.
Adding a little more to that. So a lot of times it depends on the mood that you're going for too. For example, like if you have some like moody type photography, you might want to go for a matte paper instead of a glossy paper. Bright, sunny things like, sometimes those might work better in a semi-gloss or a glossy because that brings the shine to it, that complements the sunlight. A lot of times, it's your personal preference on how you want the print to look or how you want it stylized. You can always order samples too of the print across the different papers if you're not sure or you want to get like samples to see how it would look across the different papers. So just as for everyone to know, if you do want sample packs, just reach out to us. Also, and we'll get the sample packs across the different paper types created and sent to you.
Yep. So if you get, like Ken said there, if you guys would like some sample packs, you heard it from Ken, you guys can reach out to our team and we can get one working out for you guys. And the last pre-submitted question we have here is someone asking about our bleed options and if it cuts off anything of their image, and if they need a bleed on their image as well. So just to reassure you guys, the bleed options on their website doesn't actually cut off your image. It actually just adds a border around the image itself. And the reason for that, it's really up to you as an artist, or a photographer, if you would like that border or not. The border helps provide like a focal point to your image, especially when it's framed as I showed here on our framed product, for example. I mean, this one has a matte to it, but imagine if it has the border to that. It just creates like a nice focal point to your image. Another thing that Lindsay pointed out is good for images with a bleed to it is that it also helps prevent the frames, if you do frame your image, from hiding parts of your image as well. So is there a reason you grabbed it?
Oh, it doesn't have a bleed, that's all.
Okay, yeah, so this is an example of one with the bleeds to it. So again, none of the actual image itself was cut off when we were adding these borders to it. It just, again, adds a nice white border around the image, should you want that for your piece.
Yeah, so on our new website, there's a built-in image editor through the ordering process. There is an option within that image editor to shrink to fit. So for example, if you have an 8x10 original size image and you want the 1/4 inch, traditional 1/4 inch bleed, if you just put it in, a small sliver of one of the sides or two of the sides would sort of get cropped off by default because the aspect ratio is just a tiny bit different once you shrink down the 1/4 inch, right? There's also an option to snap to fit or shrink to fit, where it would kind of squeeze the image very, very, very slightly, probably by like 1% or 2%, to completely fit the image within the image space so that you don't lose any of the cropping onto the image. So it's kind of up to you as the artist, as a photographer, as a designer, but whether you want just a slight cropping to it to maintain the original aspect ratio or to shrink it in. Usually for paper prints, we recommend just shrinking it in, keep all of the original image in there. the very, very small amount of squishing, like it's hardly noticeable to the eye. So we recommend just squishing it in for when you're doing paper prints. As Sarah and Lindsay noted, one of the reasons for a lot of people use the 1/4" bleed is that the frames, if you decide to frame any image or prints, there's a lip on top of the frame that is just slightly over 1/4 inch. So the 1/4 inch saves some of that side space so that you lose less. There will still be a little bit of overhang that would eat into the image, obviously, because you can't get it exactly over, or else you'll see some white space peeking out. But it minimizes the amount of overlap between the frame and the paper or the image.
Yep. Thanks, Ken. All right, so that's all for the pre-submitted questions and all the information that we've provided you all about our fine art paper prints, including the new ones coming out that you guys got a sneak peek of. For now, we'll just open up the floor. If anyone has any questions, feel free to unmute yourself and ask a question, or you can utilize the chat here. What we've noticed in the past is just make sure it's to everyone, or at the very least to Lumaprints, because maybe you might be accidentally DMing somebody else a question. So yeah, feel free to reach out to us on the chat or unmute yourselves. Otherwise, that's pretty much it for the day for this webinar. And we'll just catch you guys next week. I believe next week we'll kind of have an open-ended webinar in the sense where it's going to be like an office hours where we'll just keep it open to answer any questions that you guys have. And also anything that you'd like to see on our future webinars, we're open to hear, and feedback as well, as we're always open to that. So yeah, thanks, Tovo. Thanks for joining us every week. Appreciate it. Thanks, Joe.
Thank you. Also, if you guys ever need to refer back to any information provided in the presentation, we upload these on YouTube.
Yep.
Usually on Fridays, if not latest Monday.
Yeah.
We try our best to get that to you guys so you guys have references. But speaking of, in general, going back to the paper print samples, it's a really good thing to ask for samples when you're about to order or you're wanted to buy from us the first time, just so you know what type of imagery you're looking for and how it's going to look on each type. The sample pack provides all 4 papers for a really good price, and it's on 8x10, so they're about this size. I actually ordered a sample pack getting these images, and I have the option to get the bleed or not, so it's a really good source that we want to provide to our customers. If you're in the area, you could always come up to our office or come to our place here in Anaheim specifically, and you could check us out, and we'll have our open gallery and we could show you guys more paper samples too. We're always open to visitors.
Yes, you guys are welcome to our showroom.
Mhm.
All right, so we'll go ahead and keep on this, keep our chat open for the next few minutes, just in case there's any lingering questions that you guys may have. Otherwise, we'll catch you guys next week for a more open-ended on the floor for you all to answer your guys' questions and hear your guys' feedback. Thanks, guys.
Thank you guys.
Bye.
Bye-bye.